Picture this, a crowded bus in the heart of a bustling city, the air thick with the hum of conversation and the clatter of wheels on pavement. It's one of those hot summer days where everyone's just trying to get somewhere, anywhere, to escape the heat. Among the passengers is a young black teenager, barely 17, his backpack slung over one shoulder, earbuds in, but his eyes are sharp, taking in the world around him. He's got a quiet strength, the kind that comes from growing up in a world that doesn't always give you a fair shot. Across from him, a pregnant white woman stands, one hand gripping the rail, the other resting on her swollen belly, her face flushed from the effort of staying upright. The bus is packed, no seats left, and people are doing that thing where they pretend not to notice someone in need. But this kid. He notices. Without a second thought, he stands, offers her his seat, and flashes a shy smile. It's a small moment, the kind that happens every day, but it's about to spark something extraordinary, something that will change his life forever. Now, let's rewind a bit and talk about this teenager, Jamal Carter. He's not your average high school kid. Raised by a single mom in a neighborhood where opportunities are scarce, Jamal's learned to keep his head down and his heart open. He's the kind of guy who helps his elderly neighbor carry groceries, who stays late at school to finish his assignments, who dreams of college but knows the odds are stacked against him. His mom always tells him, "You do right by people, Jamal, and the world will do right by you." He's not so sure about that second part, but he lives by the first. That day on the bus, he wasn't thinking about making history or going viral. He was just being himself, doing what felt right. But what he didn't know was that this simple act of kindness was about to set off a chain of events that would pull him into a storm of prejudice, power, and unexpected redemption. The pregnant woman, Emily Harper, takes the seat with a grateful nod. She's in her late 20s, with tired eyes but a warm smile. She's not just any passenger, though Emily's got her own story. She's a teacher, overworked and underpaid, carrying the weight of her own struggles while trying to bring a new life into the world. She's been on her feet all day, and Jamal's gesture hits her harder than he could have imagined. As she sits, she fumbles in her purse, pulls out a small notepad, and scribbles something down. When the bus stops, she hands Jamal the note, her hand trembling just a little. "Read this later," she says softly, her voice carrying a weight that makes Jamal pause. He tucks the note in his pocket, not thinking much of it, and heads off to his part-time job at a local diner. But that note? It's no ordinary thank you. It's a spark, a tiny piece of paper that's about to ignite a firestorm. As Jamal walks away, he doesn't notice the cop watching from across the street. Officer Daniel Hargrove, mid-40s, with a permanent scowl etched into his face, has been patrolling this neighborhood for years. To him, kids like Jamal are trouble waiting to happen. He doesn't know about the seat, the note, or the kindness that just took place. All he sees is a black teenager with a backpack, and in his mind, that's enough to justify suspicion. Hargrove's got a reputation in the community, not a good one. Whispers follow him, stories of unfair stops, harsh words, and a temper that flares too quickly. He's the kind of cop who thinks he's keeping the streets safe, but to folks like Jamal, he's a walking reminder that the system isn't always on their side. And today, Hargrove's got his eyes locked on Jamal. The streets are busy, but there's a tension in the air, like the city's holding its breath. Jamal's halfway to the diner when he feels it, that prickling sensation on the back of his neck. He turns, and there's Hargrove, stepping out of his patrol car, hand resting on his holster. "Hey, kid," Hargrove calls out, his voice sharp. "Where you headed in such a hurry?" Jamal freezes. He's done nothing wrong, but he knows how this goes. He's heard the stories, seen the videos. His heart starts pounding, but he keeps his voice steady. "Just going to work, sir." Hargrove's eyes narrow, scanning Jamal like he's a puzzle to be solved or a threat to be neutralized. "Empty your pockets," Hargrove orders, stepping closer. Jamal hesitates, his hand brushing against the note in his pocket. He doesn't know what's written on it, but something tells him it's important. And now, it's caught in the crosshairs of a moment that's about to spiral out of control. What happens next is a blur. Hargrove's questions get sharper, his tone more aggressive. Jamal stays calm, but the crowd gathering on the sidewalk starts to murmur. Phones come out, recording. Someone shouts, "Leave him alone," but Hargrove doesn't back down. He's convinced Jamal's hiding something, drugs, a weapon, anything to justify the stop. The note stays in Jamal's pocket, unopened, but it's like a ticking time bomb. Meanwhile, Emily Harper, now a few blocks away, has no idea the chain reaction her small gesture has set off. But she's not out of this story yet. Her note, her moment of gratitude, is about to collide with a much bigger force, one that involves a man who doesn't take kindly to injustice, especially when it's aimed at someone like Jamal. Enter Colonel Marcus Reed, a decorated army officer who's seen more than his share of battles, both overseas and at home. Marcus is a black man who's climbed the ranks through grit and determination, a man who knows what it's like to face prejudice head-on. He's also Emily's husband, though you wouldn't know it from the bus ride. Marcus wasn't there when Jamal gave up his seat, but he's about to become a key player in this unfolding drama. He's in town for a rare visit, having just returned from a deployment, and he's meeting Emily for dinner. As he walks toward their meeting spot, he notices the crowd, the flashing lights, the tension. And then he sees Jamal, backed against a wall, with Hargrove looming over him. Marcus's instincts kick in. He's not just a soldier, he's a protector, a man who's spent his life fighting for what's right. And right now, something feels very wrong. The air crackles with unspoken questions. What's in that note? Why is Hargrove so fixated on Jamal? And what happens when a man like Colonel Reed steps into a situation like this? The crowd's getting louder, the cameras are rolling, and Jamal's just trying to keep his cool, unaware that the note in his pocket holds a secret that could change everything. Is it a message of hope? A warning? Or something else entirely? One thing's clear, this isn't just about a seat on a bus anymore. It's about justice, about choices, about the ripple effects of a single act of kindness in a world that's quick to judge. And as Colonel Reed steps closer, his eyes locking on Hargrove, you can feel the storm brewing. What happens next? Well, that's where things get really interesting, and we're just getting started. The crowd's murmurs grow louder as Colonel Marcus Reed steps closer, his boots hitting the pavement with a steady rhythm that cuts through the chaos. He's tall, broad-shouldered, his military posture unmistakable even in civilian clothes. His eyes, sharp and assessing, take in the scene. Jamal, a teenager who looks like he's trying to shrink into himself, and Officer Hargrove, whose hand still hovers too close to his holster. Marcus doesn't know Jamal's name yet, doesn't know about the bus or the note, but he knows the look on the kid's face, fear mixed with defiance, the kind you develop when you've been through this kind of thing before. Marcus has seen that look too many times, on too many faces, in too many places. It's the look of someone caught in a system that's already made up its mind about them. He slows his pace, not wanting to escalate things yet, but his presence alone shifts the air. People in the crowd start to notice him, their whispers changing tone. "Who's that guy?" someone mutters. "Looks like trouble for Hargrove," another says, half hoping. Jamal, meanwhile, is doing his best to stay calm. His mom's words echo in his head, "Don't give them a reason, Jamal. Stay polite, stay alive." He's got his hands out of his pockets now, palms open, trying to show he's not a threat. But Hargrove's not backing off. "I said, empty your pockets, kid," he repeats, his voice louder now, like he's playing to the crowd. Jamal's eyes flicker to the growing circle of onlookers, their phones raised like tiny shields. He knows those videos might save him or damn him, depending on how the story gets spun. He reaches into his pocket slowly, pulling out his keys, his bus pass, and then, that folded piece of paper from Emily. He holds it up, not sure why it feels so heavy in his hand. "What's that?" Hargrove snaps, stepping closer, his eyes locking onto the note like it's evidence of a crime. Jamal shrugs, his voice steady but quiet. "Just something someone gave me." Hargrove's lip curls, like he doesn't believe a word. "Hand it over," he says, reaching out. Across town, Emily Harper is sitting in a small cafe, waiting for Marcus. She's sipping water, her hands still shaky from the bus ride. She keeps replaying the moment with Jamal in her head, the way he stood up without hesitation, the way his smile seemed to carry a story she didn't have time to hear. Writing that note was impulsive, a gut reaction to a kindness she hadn't expected. She's not even sure why she wrote it, only that it felt important, like a way to pay forward something she couldn't quite name. Emily's life hasn't been easy lately. Budget cuts at her school, a tough pregnancy, and Marcus being gone for months at a time, it's all been piling up. That moment on the bus was a rare bright spot, a reminder that there's still good in the world. But now, as she checks her phone and sees no message from Marcus, a knot forms in her stomach. He's never late, not without a reason. She glances out the cafe window, unaware that her husband is just blocks away, about to step into a situation that's bigger than any of them realize. Back on the street, Marcus is close enough now to hear Hargrove's tone, the way it drips with authority and something uglier. He's seen men like Hargrove before, power-hungry, quick to assume the worst, especially when it comes to kids like Jamal. Marcus's mind flashes back to his own youth, growing up in a neighborhood not unlike this one. He remembers the cops who'd stop him for no reason, the teachers who'd look at him like he was destined to fail, the battles he fought to prove them wrong. He didn't become a colonel by accident. Every step was a fight against assumptions, against a world that often saw his skin before it saw his character. And now, watching Jamal, he sees a kid who could be him, 30 years ago. His jaw tightens, but he keeps his voice low, calm. "Officer," he says, stepping into Hargrove's line of sight. "What's the situation here?" Hargrove turns, startled, his hand twitching toward his radio. He sizes Marcus up, taking in the broad shoulders, the steady gaze, the quiet authority that doesn't need a badge to be felt. For a moment, he hesitates, like he's not sure how to play this. "Just doing my job," Hargrove says, his tone defensive. "This kid's acting suspicious. Won't cooperate." Jamal opens his mouth to protest, but Marcus gives him a subtle look, a signal to stay quiet. Marcus knows how fast this can go south, how one wrong word can turn a tense moment into a tragedy. "Suspicious how?" Marcus asks, his voice even but firm. "Looks to me like he's just standing here." The crowd murmurs again, some nodding in agreement, others holding their phones higher. Hargrove's face reddens. He's not used to being challenged, especially not in front of an audience. Jamal's still holding the note, his fingers tightening around it. He hasn't read it yet, hasn't had a chance, but he feels its weight, like it's more than just paper. He doesn't know why Hargrove's so fixated on it, but he's starting to wonder if giving it up is a mistake. What did Emily write? Was it just a thank you, or something more? His mind races, trying to piece it together. He remembers her face on the bus, the way her eyes held something, gratitude, yes, but also a kind of urgency, like she was passing him something fragile. He glances at Marcus now, this stranger who stepped in like he's ready to go to war for him. Jamal's not sure who Marcus is, but he feels a flicker of hope, like maybe this won't end the way he's afraid it will. Hargrove, though, isn't backing down. He's doubled down now, his pride stung by Marcus's calm authority. "You need to step back, sir," he says, pointing at Marcus. "This doesn't concern you." But Marcus doesn't move. He's not loud, not aggressive, but there's a steel in his voice when he speaks. "I'm making it my concern," he says. "You're detaining a kid who hasn't done anything wrong. I'd like to know why." The crowd's buzzing now, the tension thick enough to choke on. Someone in the back yells, "Tell him, Colonel," and Hargrove's eyes narrow. He doesn't know Marcus's rank, doesn't know his story, but that word, Colonel, lands like a punch. For the first time, Hargrove looks uncertain, like he's misjudged the situation. Miles away, Emily's phone buzzes. It's a text from a friend who was on the bus with her, someone who saw the whole thing with Jamal. The message is short but urgent. "Turn on the news. That kid from the bus is in trouble." Emily's heart drops. She fumbles with her phone, pulling up a local news app, and there it is, a live feed from the street, shaky footage of Jamal, Hargrove, and a tall man she recognizes instantly as Marcus. Her breath catches. She knows her husband's stance, the way he carries himself when he's about to take charge. But she also knows Hargrove's type, cops who've crossed paths with Marcus before and didn't like being outmaneuvered. Her mind races to the note she gave Jamal. She wrote it in a moment of clarity, a spur-of-the-moment decision inspired by her own struggles and a promise she made to herself long ago. But now, seeing the scene unfolding, she wonders if that note is about to make things worse. The note itself is still a mystery, its words unread, its power unknown. Jamal's clutching it like a lifeline, but he's not sure why. Hargrove's reaching for it now, his voice sharp. "Give me that paper, kid, or we're gonna have a problem." Jamal hesitates, his eyes darting to Marcus, who gives him a slight nod, like he's saying, "Hold your ground." But the crowd's getting restless, and the cameras are catching every second. Somewhere in that crowd, a woman whispers to her friend, "This is gonna go viral." And she's right. This moment, this collision of kindness and prejudice, is about to explode into something bigger than anyone could have predicted. But what's in that note? And what happens when Marcus, a man who's faced down worse than Hargrove, decides enough is enough? The answers are close, but not here, not yet. The tension's still building, and the storm's just beginning to break. The street feels like a pressure cooker, every word and movement adding to the heat. Jamal's grip on the note tightens, his knuckles pale against the folded paper. He's not sure why he's holding onto it so fiercely. Maybe it's the way Emily looked at him when she handed it over, like it was more than just a gesture. Officer Hargrove's eyes are locked on that note, his impatience growing. "I'm not asking again, kid," he says, his voice low and edged with menace. "Hand it over, or we're taking a ride to the station." Jamal's heart pounds, but he catches Marcus's steady gaze, a silent anchor in the storm. Colonel Reed hasn't moved an inch, his presence like a wall between Jamal and Hargrove's aggression. The crowd's buzzing louder now, a mix of support and agitation, phones still recording every second. A teenager in the back, maybe a friend of Jamal's from school, whispers to his buddy, "Man, this is messed up." That's Jamal, his good people. But Hargrove doesn't hear that, doesn't care. To him, Jamal's just another suspect, another chance to flex his authority. Marcus, though, isn't just standing there. His mind's working fast, calculating. He's been in high-stakes situations before, battlefields, negotiations, moments where one wrong move could cost lives. This feels like one of those moments. He knows Hargrove's type, a cop who thrives on control, who sees every challenge as a personal insult. Marcus also knows the crowd's a wild card. They're angry, restless, but they're not organized. If this escalates, it could turn chaotic fast. He keeps his voice calm, deliberate. "Officer, let's take a step back," he says. "No need for this to get out of hand." The kid's cooperating. Let him explain. Hargrove's jaw clenches, his pride stung. "I don't need your advice," he snaps, but there's a crack in his confidence. That word, colonel, still hangs in the air, thrown out by someone in the crowd. Hargrove's starting to realize he's not just dealing with a random bystander. Across town, Emily's hands tremble as she watches the live feed on her phone. The cafe's hum fades into the background as her eyes stay glued to the grainy video. She sees Marcus, his calm authority radiating even through the shaky footage, and Jamal, looking smaller than he did on the bus, but still holding his ground. Her stomach twists. That note, she wrote it in a moment of raw emotion, thinking it might mean something to a kid who seemed to carry the weight of the world. Now, it's at the center of this mess. She thinks back to what she wrote, the words that came from a place of gratitude and hope. It wasn't just a thank you, it was a promise, a connection to something bigger. But what if Hargrove gets his hands on it? What if he twists it into something it's not? Emily grabs her purse, her mind racing. She needs to get to Marcus, to Jamal, to explain before this spirals further. Back on the street, a new figure emerges from the crowd, a woman in her 40s, with a no-nonsense stride and a badge clipped to her belt. Detective Sarah Klein, Hargrove's partner, has been watching from a distance, called to the scene by a backup request Hargrove sent minutes ago. She's not like him, though. Sarah's got a reputation for being fair, for listening before acting, but she's also under pressure to back her partner. She steps forward, her voice cutting through the tension. "Hargrove, what's going on?" she asks, her tone professional but firm. Hargrove glances at her, irritated. "This kid's hiding something," he says, pointing at Jamal. "Won't hand over that paper." Sarah's eyes flicker to Jamal, then to Marcus, and she senses the powder keg she's walked into. "Let's all calm down," she says, raising her hands. "Kid, what's with the note?" Jamal hesitates, his eyes darting between Sarah, Marcus, and Hargrove. "It's just something someone gave me," he says, his voice steady but guarded. I haven't even read it yet. Sarah's not sure what to make of that, but she sees the crowd, the cameras, the tension. She's been on the force long enough to know how these moments can ignite, how a single misunderstanding can turn into a headline. She also knows Hargrove's history, complaints filed, investigations swept under the rug. She's tried to steer him right, but he's stubborn, set in his ways. She glances at Marcus, sensing he's not just a bystander. Sir, you know this kid, she asks. Marcus shakes his head, but his voice is firm. Don't need to know him to see this isn't right. He's done nothing to justify this. Sarah nods slightly, processing. She's caught between protocol and instinct, between backing her partner and doing what's fair. The note, though, what is it about that piece of paper that's got Hargrove so worked up? Meanwhile, a subplot brews in the crowd. A local activist, Tasha, has been filming the whole thing. She's in her 30s, a community organizer who's seen too many scenes like this. Tasha's been fighting for change in the neighborhood, organizing protests, pushing for accountability. She knows Hargrove by name, has heard the stories of his heavy-handed tactics. As she streams the confrontation live on social media, her followers are blowing up, comments flooding in. This is why we march. Protect that kid. Tasha's not just recording, she's narrating, her voice low but urgent, calling out Hargrove's aggression, praising Marcus's calm intervention. Her stream's already got thousands of views, and it's spreading fast. She doesn't know Jamal personally, but she's seen kids like him, bright, kind, caught in the crosshairs of a system that doesn't always see their worth. Tasha's footage is about to make this moment bigger than the street it's happening on. Jamal's mind is racing. He's trying to stay calm, but the pressure's building. He thinks about his mom, working a double shift at the hospital, how she'd tell him to keep his cool. He thinks about his little sister, who looks up to him, who'd be scared if she saw this. And he thinks about that note, still unopened, burning a hole in his hand. What did Emily write? Was it just a kind word, or something that could get him in trouble? He remembers her face, the way she seemed almost desperate when she handed it to him. He wants to read it, but not here, not with Hargrove breathing down his neck. He glances at Marcus, who's still holding Hargrove's gaze, and feels a spark of courage. Maybe this stranger's got his back. But then Hargrove steps closer, his hand outstretched. Last chance, kid, he says. Give me the note, or you're coming with me. Miles away, Emily's out of the cafe now, hurrying toward the scene. She's called Marcus, but he's not answering, probably too focused on what's happening. She's replaying the note in her head, the words she wrote in a moment of clarity. It wasn't just about thanking Jamal, it was about offering him something real, something tied to a scholarship program she's been working on at her school. She'd seen the spark in Jamal's eyes, the kind of spark her students have when they're hungry for a chance. But now, she's terrified that note could be misunderstood, twisted into something it's not. What if Hargrove thinks it's evidence of something illegal? What if it drags Jamal deeper into this mess? She picks up her pace, her heart racing as she weaves through the city streets. Back on the street, Sarah's trying to de-escalate, but Hargrove's not listening. He's locked in, his focus on Jamal and that note. Marcus, though, isn't backing down either. He steps slightly closer, his voice low but carrying weight. Officer, you're making a mistake, he says. This kid's no threat. You know it, I know it, and everyone here knows it. The crowd roars in agreement, and Hargrove's face tightens. He's losing control, and he hates it. Tasha's stream catches every word, every gesture, beaming it out to the world. The note, still unread, is the center of it all, a small piece of paper that's become a symbol of something much bigger. What's written on it? Why does it matter so much? And what happens when Emily gets there, when the truth about her note comes out? The tension's thicker than ever, the crowd's on edge, and the storm's about to break wide open. The street is a live wire, every sound amplified, the murmur of the crowd, the distant wail of sirens, the sharp edge in Hargrove's voice as he leans closer to Jamal. I'm done playing, kid, he says, his hand inches from the note still clutched in Jamal's fingers. Give it up, or you're in cuffs. Jamal's heart is hammering so loud he can barely hear his own thoughts. He's frozen, caught between fear and a stubborn instinct to protect that piece of paper. He doesn't know what's written on it, but Emily's trembling hand, her urgent whisper, keep flashing in his mind. It's more than a note now, it's a lifeline, a mystery, a spark that set this whole scene ablaze. Colonel Marcus Reed stands firm, his eyes locked on Hargrove, his voice a low rumble. "Back off, officer. You're escalating for no reason." The crowd's on edge, some shouting encouragement to Jamal, others yelling at Hargrove to let him go. Phones are everywhere, capturing every angle, and Tasha's livestream is blowing up, comments flooding in faster than she can read. This moment is teetering on the edge of something explosive, and everyone can feel it. Marcus's words hang in the air, but Hargrove's not listening. His face is flushed, his pride stung by the challenge from this stranger who carries himself like he's seen worse than a street cop with a power trip. Hargrove's hand twitches toward his cuffs, a move that doesn't go unnoticed. Detective Sarah Klein steps in closer, her voice sharp now. "Hargrove, stand down," she says, her eyes flicking between him, Jamal, and Marcus. She's trying to keep this from boiling over, but she's also aware of the crowd's growing agitation. She knows Hargrove's crossed lines before, complaints about excessive force, biased stops, but she's never seen him this fixated. "What's with the note, kid?" she asks Jamal again, softer this time, trying to give him an out. Jamal swallows hard, his voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know, I haven't read it. Someone gave it to me on the bus." Sarah's brow furrows. She's starting to sense there's more to this than Hargrove's gut instinct. A few blocks away, Emily's practically running now, her breath coming in short gasps. The live feed on her phone keeps cutting out, but she's seen enough, Marcus facing off with Hargrove, Jamal cornered, the crowd swelling. Her heart aches for Jamal, that kid who gave up his seat without a second thought. She's kicking herself for writing that note, for not explaining it better. It wasn't just a thank you, it was an offer, a chance at a scholarship program she's been championing for kids like him. She'd seen something in Jamal's eyes, a hunger for something better, and she wanted to give him a shot. But now, that note's become a lightning rod, and she's terrified it's about to be twisted into something ugly. She tries Marcus's phone again, but it goes straight to voicemail. "Come on, Marcus," she mutters, dodging pedestrians as she hurries toward the scene. She needs to get there before this goes too far. Back on the street, Tasha's stream is hitting critical mass. Her followers are sharing it across platforms, hashtags like #JusticeForJamal and #StopHargrove trending in real time. She's narrating with a steady voice, but her hands are shaking as she holds her phone. "This is what we're up against," she says to her audience. "A kid does something kind, and now he's being targeted. Look at this officer, Hargrove, escalating for no reason. And this man stepping in. That's what courage looks like." She zooms in on Marcus, catching the steel in his eyes, then pans to Jamal, whose face is a mix of fear and resolve. Tasha's been fighting for change in this neighborhood for years, but this moment feels different. It's raw, real, and the world's watching. She spots a news van pulling up at the edge of the crowd, reporters scrambling out. This isn't just a local story anymore, it's about to go national. Jamal's mind is a whirlwind. He's thinking about his mom, how she'd tell him to stay calm, to not give Hargrove a reason to escalate. He's thinking about his little sister, who'd be watching this on her phone by now, scared out of her mind. And he's thinking about that note, still unopened, still a mystery. He wants to read it, to know why it's causing all this trouble, but Hargrove's too close, his presence suffocating. Marcus's voice cuts through again, steady and commanding. "Officer, you're making a scene over a piece of paper. Let's all take a breath and figure this out." But Hargrove's not having it. He steps forward, reaching for the note, and Jamal instinctively pulls back. It's a small move, but it's enough to make Hargrove's eyes flash with anger. "That's it," he snaps, grabbing for his cuffs. The crowd gasps, a collective intake of breath, and Sarah's hand shoots out, grabbing Hargrove's arm. "Enough," she says, her voice loud now. "You're out of line." The tension is unbearable, like the air itself is holding its breath. Marcus steps closer, positioning himself slightly in front of Jamal, a silent shield. He's not raising his voice, but every word carries weight. "You cuff that kid, "You're making a mistake you can't undo," he says. Hargrove's face is a storm of rage and uncertainty. He knows he's losing control of the situation, of the crowd, of himself. The word colonel is still echoing in his head, and now Sarah's against him too. He glances at the cameras, the news van, the sea of phones, and for the first time, he looks rattled. But he's too deep in to back down now. "You're under arrest," he says to Jamal, his voice shaking with frustration. "For obstructing an investigation." The crowd erupts, shouts of no and let him go, filling the air. Jamal's eyes widen, but he doesn't move. He looks to Marcus, who gives him a nod, like he's saying, "Stay strong." At that moment, a new voice cuts through the chaos. "Stop." It's Emily, pushing through the crowd, her face flushed from running. She's out of breath, her eyes wild with urgency as she spots Jamal, Marcus, and Hargrove. The crowd parts slightly, phones turning toward her. She locks eyes with Marcus, and for a split second, there's relief, he's here, he's safe. But then she sees Jamal, the note still in his hand, and Hargrove's cuffs gleaming in the sunlight. "That's my note," she shouts, her voice breaking. "I gave it to him. It's not what you think." Hargrove freezes, his hand still on the cuffs. Sarah turns to Emily, her expression a mix of confusion and hope. The crowd quiets, waiting. Jamal's heart skips a beat. Emily's here. But what does this mean? What's in that note that's got everyone so worked up? Tasha's stream catches Emily's arrival, her voice rising with excitement. "That's the woman from the bus. She's got something to say." The comments explode, thousands of people watching, speculating, demanding answers. The news crew pushes closer, microphones ready. Emily's panting, trying to catch her breath, but she steps forward, her eyes on Hargrove. "You're making a mistake," she says, her voice trembling but firm. "That note's not evidence of anything wrong. It's about a scholarship, a chance for him." She points at Jamal, who looks at her, stunned. "A scholarship? Is that what this is about?" Hargrove's face twists, like he doesn't believe her, or doesn't want to. Sarah's watching closely, her hand still on Hargrove's arm, holding him back. Marcus steps toward Emily, his expression unreadable but his presence steady, grounding her. The moment hangs on a knife's edge. Hargrove's cuffs are out, Jamal's still holding the note, and Emily's words are sinking in. The crowd's waiting, the cameras are rolling, and Tasha's stream is reaching millions. What's in that note? Will Hargrove back down, or will he double down? And what happens when the truth comes out, if it comes out? Every eye is on Jamal, on that piece of paper, on the clash between a kid's kindness and a system's prejudice. The storm's at its peak, and something's about to give. The air feels thick, like it's holding its breath, as Emily's words echo through the crowd. "It's about a scholarship," she repeats, her voice steadier now but still laced with urgency. Jamal's eyes widen, the note still clutched in his hand, its edges crinkling under his grip. A scholarship. The word hits him like a jolt, but he's too caught up in the moment to process it. Hargrove's hand hovers over the cuffs, his face a mix of disbelief and defiance. "A scholarship," he scoffs, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "You expect me to believe that?" He takes a step toward Jamal, but Sarah's grip on his arm tightens, holding him back. Marcus moves closer to Emily, his presence a quiet anchor, but his eyes never leave Hargrove. The crowd's restless, their shouts blending into a chaotic hum, some calling for justice, others demanding answers. Tasha's livestream is exploding, her phone buzzing with notifications as the hashtags #JusticeForJamal and #StopHargrove climb higher. The news crew's microphones are out, capturing every word, and the tension is a heartbeat away from snapping. Then, a second voice cuts through the noise, sharp and commanding. "Hargrove, stand down now." It's Captain Elena Torres, Hargrove's supervisor, pushing through the crowd with two other officers in tow. She's in her 50s, with a no-nonsense air and a reputation for cleaning up messes like this. Her arrival is the plot twist nobody saw coming, not Hargrove, not Sarah, not even Marcus. She's been monitoring the situation from the precinct, alerted by the viral stream and the flood of calls jamming their lines. Her eyes scan the scene, Jamal, frozen with the note, Hargrove, teetering on the edge of a bad decision, Marcus, standing like a wall, and Emily, her face pale but resolute. Torres knows Hargrove's history, too many complaints, too many close calls, and she's not about to let this become another stain on her department. "What the hell is going on here?" she demands, her voice cutting through the crowd like a blade. Hargrove's face flushes deeper, caught off guard. "Captain, this kid's obstructing," he starts, but Torres cuts him off with a raised hand. "Obstructing what?" "A hunch." She steps closer, her gaze pinning Hargrove. "You're detaining a teenager over a piece of paper." "Explain." Hargrove stammers, his confidence crumbling under her scrutiny. Sarah steps back, relief flickering across her face, but she stays quiet, knowing better than to interrupt. Jamal's still holding the note, his heart racing. He glances at Emily, who's now standing next to Marcus, her hand gripping his arm. She's trying to speak, to explain the note, but Torres's presence shifts the dynamic, and everyone's waiting for her next move. The crowd's quieter now, sensing the power shift, but the phones are still rolling, Tasha's stream hitting millions of views. This isn't just a street confrontation anymore, it's a reckoning. But then, another twist drops like a bomb. A man in a suit, mid-30s, pushes through the crowd, holding up a badge. "FBI," he announces, his voice calm but authoritative. "Agent Michael Carter, Civil Rights Division." The crowd gasps, murmurs rippling like wildfire. Tasha's stream catches it, her voice rising. "Did he just say FBI? Oh, this just got real." Agent Carter's been tracking complaints against Hargrove for months, part of an investigation into systemic issues in the department. He was nearby when the call came in about a viral video involving a familiar name, Hargrove. Now, he's here, and his presence sends a shockwave through the scene. Hargrove's eyes widen, his hand dropping from the cuffs. Sarah's jaw tightens, torn between loyalty and the sinking realization that her partner's in deep. Marcus raises an eyebrow, his military instincts kicking in. He knows a game-changer when he sees one. Jamal, though, is just trying to keep up, the note still in his hand, its mystery heavier than ever. Agent Carter steps forward, his badge gleaming in the sunlight. "Officer Hargrove, I need you to step back and turn over any evidence you're holding." His tone is even, but there's no mistaking the authority behind it. Hargrove's face twists, a mix of anger and panic. "Evidence," he snaps. "This kid's hiding something." Carter's eyes narrow, landing on the note in Jamal's hand. "Is that the evidence?" he asks, his voice calm but pointed. Jamal hesitates, looking to Marcus, then Emily. He's caught in a whirlwind, cops, a colonel, an FBI agent, and a crowd that's ready to erupt. Emily steps forward, her voice shaking but clear. "It's my note," she says. "I gave it to him. It's about a scholarship program for kids who deserve a chance." Carter nods, processing, but his eyes stay on Hargrove. "Then why's this kid about to be cuffed?" he asks, his question aimed like a dart. The stakes are sky-high now. The crowd's buzzing, some cheering for the FBI's arrival, others shouting at Hargrove to back off. Tasha's stream is a wildfire, comments flooding in, "FBI's here. Hargrove's done. Protect Jamal." The news crew's pushing closer, their cameras catching every angle. Jamal's mind is spinning. A scholarship. An FBI agent. He's just a kid who gave up his seat on a bus, and now he's at the center of a storm. He thinks about his mom, still at the hospital, oblivious to the chaos. He thinks about his sister, probably watching Tasha's stream, scared for him. And he thinks about that note, still unread, still a mystery that's turned his life upside down. He wants to open it, to know what's worth all this trouble, but Hargrove's still too close, and now the FBI's involved. Marcus, standing by Emily, feels the weight of the moment. He's been in battles, faced enemies, but this is different, a fight for a kid he doesn't even know, caught in a system that's failing him. He glances at Emily, sees the fear and determination in her eyes. She's clutching his arm, whispering, "Marcus, we can't let this happen." He nods, his jaw tight. He knows the FBI's presence changes things, but it also raises the stakes. If Hargrove doubles down, this could get uglier. If the note's misunderstood, Jamal could still end up in cuffs. And if the truth comes out, what then? Marcus steps closer to Jamal, his voice low. "Stay calm, son. We've got you. Jamal nods, but his hands are trembling, the note crinkling under his grip. Torres, meanwhile, is trying to regain control. She turns to Carter, her voice professional but tense. Agent, we'll handle this internally. My officer's acting on suspicion. Carter shakes his head. Suspicion's not enough, Captain. Not when it's caught on camera and looks like targeting. The word targeting lands like a punch, and Hargrove flinches. Sarah's eyes dart to her partner, a mix of frustration and worry. She's been trying to keep him in check, but now the FBI's here, and the whole world's watching. Tasha's stream zooms in on Carter's badge, then pans to Jamal's face, his eyes wide but resolute. The crowd's chanting now, a mix of let him go and read the note. The pressure's unbearable, every second stretching into eternity. Emily's heart is pounding. She wants to grab the note, read it aloud, clear this up, but she's afraid of making things worse. What if Hargrove twists her words? What if the FBI misinterprets it? She leans into Marcus, whispering, "It's just a chance for him, Marcus. A way out." Marcus nods, his eyes on Carter now, sizing him up. The FBI agent's calm, but there's a sharpness to him, like he's seen scenes like this too many times. He steps toward Jamal, his voice steady. "Son, can I see that note?" Jamal hesitates, looking to Marcus, then Emily. The crowd's holding its breath, Tasha's stream capturing every second. Hargrove's hand twitches, Torres's eyes narrow, and Sarah's ready to step in. The note's the key, but what's inside? And what happens when it's finally read? The storm's raging, and the climax is seconds away. The street feels like it's about to combust, every eye locked on Jamal as he holds the note, his hand trembling but his resolve firm. Agent Carter's voice cuts through the chaos, calm but commanding. "Son, can I see that note?" Jamal hesitates, his gaze darting to Marcus, then Emily, then back to the FBI agent. The crowd's chants, "Let him go." Read the note. Pulse like a heartbeat. Tasha's livestream is a wildfire, millions watching, hashtags like #JusticeForJamal and #StopHargrove trending worldwide. Captain Torres stands tense, her eyes on Hargrove, whose hand still hovers near his cuffs, his face a mask of defiance and panic. Sarah's holding her breath, caught between duty and the sinking feeling that her partner's gone too far. Marcus, beside Emily, gives Jamal a subtle nod, his steady presence a lifeline. Emily's heart races, her voice barely a whisper as she leans into Marcus. "It's just a chance for him," she says, her eyes pleading. The note, still unread, still a mystery, has become the center of this storm, and the moment of truth is here. Jamal takes a deep breath, his fingers shaking as he unfolds the note. The crowd quiets, the air thick with anticipation. Hargrove leans forward, his eyes narrowing, while Carter steps closer, his expression unreadable. Sarah's hand is still on Hargrove's arm, a silent warning. Jamal's voice is soft but clear as he reads aloud, "Jamal, your kindness today reminded me there's still good in the world. I run a scholarship program for kids like you, kids with heart. Call me. You deserve a shot. Emily Harper." He pauses, his voice catching as the words sink in. A scholarship. A chance. The crowd erupts in cheers, some clapping, others shouting, "That's it? That's what this is about." Tasha's stream explodes with comments, "A scholarship. This kid's a hero. Hargrove's done." The news crew zooms in, capturing Jamal's stunned expression, Emily's tearful relief, and Hargrove's face, now pale with the realization he's misread everything. Torres steps forward, her voice sharp. "Hargrove, stand down. Now." Her tone leaves no room for argument. Hargrove's hand drops from his cuffs, his shoulders slumping as the weight of his mistake crashes down. Sarah lets go of his arm, her face a mix of relief and disappointment. Agent Carter nods at Jamal, a faint smile breaking through his professional demeanor. "Sounds like a good kid," he says, then turns to Torres. "Captain, we need to talk about your officer's conduct. This isn't the first time." Torres nods grimly, already knowing Hargrove's history is catching up with him. The crowd's cheers grow louder, a wave of support for Jamal washing over the street. Marcus puts a hand on Jamal's shoulder, his voice low. "You did good, son. You held your ground. Emily steps forward, tears in her eyes. "I'm so sorry, Jamal," she says. "I just wanted to help." Jamal, still processing, manages a small smile. "It's okay," he says. "Thank you." The climax hits its peak as the crowd surrounds Jamal, some offering high fives, others shouting words of encouragement. Tasha's stream captures the moment, her voice choked with emotion. "This is what justice looks like," she says. "A kid does something kind, and the world tries to tear him down. But look at this, he's still standing." The news crew's microphones are everywhere, reporters shouting questions at Torres and Carter. Hargrove, now isolated, steps back, his face a storm of anger and shame. Sarah pulls him aside, her voice low but firm. "You need to get it together, Dan. This could have been so much worse." Torres signals to the other officers, who start dispersing the crowd, but the energy's still electric, the story far from over. Jamal slips the note into his pocket, its words now a beacon of hope, but his heart's still racing. He's free, but the weight of the moment lingers. Then, just as the tension starts to ease, a final twist drops like a thunderbolt. A woman pushes through the crowd, her face frantic, her hospital scrubs wrinkled from a long shift. It's Jamal's mom, Lisa Carter, her eyes wide with fear and fury. She'd seen Tasha's stream on a coworker's phone during her break and rushed over, terrified for her son. "Jamal," she cries, her voice cutting through the noise. The crowd parts, and Jamal turns, his face lighting up as he sees her. "Mom." He runs to her, and they embrace, the crowd cheering louder. But Lisa's not done. She pulls back, her eyes blazing as she spots Hargrove. "You," she says, her voice trembling with rage. "You tried to take my boy for nothing." The crowd quiets, sensing something new. Lisa steps toward Hargrove, her voice rising. "I know you. You stopped my nephew last year, same nonsense. And now my son." Her words hit like a slap, and Hargrove flinches, his eyes darting to Torres, then Carter. The twist deepens as Lisa's words reveal a pattern. Hargrove's not just a cop with a bad day, he's got a history of targeting kids in this neighborhood, and Lisa's not the only one who knows it. Tasha's stream catches every word, her followers flooding the comments. She's calling him out. This is bigger than one kid. Agent Carter's eyes narrow, his interest peaked. He says to Lisa, "We need to talk. If you've got information, it could help." Lisa nods, her jaw tight, ready to spill everything she's heard, everything her community's endured. Marcus and Emily exchange a glance, realizing this moment is bigger than the note, bigger than Jamal. It's about a community fighting back, a system being challenged, a kid's kindness sparking a movement. The street's still buzzing as Torres orders Hargrove to the precinct, her voice cold. "You're on desk duty until we sort this out." Hargrove stalks off, his head low, the crowd jeering as he goes. Sarah follows, torn between loyalty and disgust. Carter pulls Lisa aside, his notebook out, ready to hear her story. Jamal, still in his mom's arms, feels the weight of the day lifting, but the note in his pocket burns with new meaning. Emily approaches, her voice soft. "Jamal, that scholarship, it's real. I want to help you apply." Jamal nods, overwhelmed, his dreams suddenly within reach. Marcus smiles, proud of the kid he didn't know an hour ago. Tasha's stream fades out, her final words ringing. This isn't over. This is just the start. But even as the crowd disperses, the news vans pack up, and Jamal heads home with his mom, the final twist lingers. Lisa's revelation about Hargrove's past isn't just a moment of anger, it's a spark that could ignite an investigation, one that might expose more than one rogue cop. Agent Carter's already on the phone, calling in reinforcements. Tasha's footage is evidence now, shared with millions, demanding accountability. And Jamal? He's not just a kid who gave up his seat anymore. He's a symbol, a story, a hope for change. The note's been read, the cuffs are gone, but the fight's far from over. What happens next? That's a story the world's still waiting to hear. The street slowly quiets as the crowd begins to thin, the energy of the confrontation fading like a storm passing through. Jamal clings to his mom, Lisa, her arms wrapped tightly around him, her hospital scrubs still carrying the faint scent of antiseptic from her shift. The note, now safely tucked back in his pocket, feels lighter somehow, its words no longer a mystery but a promise, a scholarship, a chance at a future he's only dreamed of. Marcus and Emily stand nearby, their hands clasped, watching as the news vans pack up and the last of the onlookers drift away. Tasha's still filming, her phone lowered but her voice steady as she wraps up her live stream. "This is what happens when we stand together," she says to her millions of viewers. "Jamal's kindness sparked this, but it's our fight now. Don't stop pushing for justice." Her words linger, a call to action that resonates far beyond the street corner. Agent Carter's off to the side, talking quietly with Captain Torres and Lisa, his notebook filling with details that could change everything. The air feels different now, hopeful, but heavy with the weight of what's still to come. Jamal pulls back from his mom, his eyes still wide from the whirlwind of the day. "You okay, baby?" Lisa asks, her voice soft but fierce, like she's ready to take on the world for him. He nods, managing a small smile. "Yeah, Mom. I'm okay." But he's more than okay, he's shaken, sure, but there's a spark in him now, a belief that maybe his mom was right all along. Do right by people, and the world might just do right by you. He glances at Emily, who's wiping tears from her eyes, and Marcus, whose steady presence feels like a shield even now. "Thank you," Jamal says to them, his voice quiet but sincere. Emily steps forward, her smile warm. "No, Jamal, thank you. You reminded me why I do what I do." Marcus nods, his hand resting on Emily's shoulder. "You're a good kid," he says. "Don't let anyone tell you different." Agent Carter finishes his conversation with Lisa and approaches Jamal, his badge now tucked away but his authority still clear. "Jamal, I heard what you did on that bus," he says. "That kind of heart. That's rare. You keep that, no matter what." He hands Jamal a card with his contact info. "If you ever need to talk, or if anyone gives you trouble, you call me." Jamal takes the card, stunned. An FBI agent, giving him his number? It's almost too much to process. Lisa puts a hand on his shoulder, her eyes shining with pride but also worry. She knows this moment's a victory, but it's also a reminder of how close she came to losing her son to a system that's failed too many. "Let's go home," she says, her voice firm. "You've got school tomorrow, and we've got some talking to do." As Jamal and Lisa walk away, the street feels almost normal again, the chaos replaced by the usual hum of city life. But the story's not over, not for them, not for anyone. Tasha's footage has gone viral, shared across platforms, sparking debates and demands for change. Hashtags like #JusticeForJamal and #StopHargrove are trending, and news outlets are already digging into Hargrove's record, fueled by Lisa's revelation about his history of targeting kids in the neighborhood. Agent Carter's investigation is just beginning, and with Lisa's testimony and Tasha's video as evidence, it's clear Hargrove's days of unchecked power are numbered. Captain Torres, back at the precinct, is already pulling files, knowing the FBI's involvement means this won't be swept under the rug. Sarah, torn by what she's seen, sits quietly at her desk, wondering if she could have done more to rein Hargrove in before it came to this. Emily and Marcus head to their car, the weight of the day settling over them. Emily's still shaken, replaying the moment she handed Jamal that note. "I just wanted to give him a chance," she says, her voice breaking. Marcus pulls her close, his voice steady. "You did. And you did more than that, you showed him he's not alone." They talk about the scholarship program, how Emily's been fighting to fund it for kids like Jamal, kids who have the heart but not the opportunities. Marcus, who's seen too many young lives cut short by injustice, feels a renewed sense of purpose. "We're not done here," he says. "That kid's got a future, and we're gonna make sure he gets it." Emily nods, her resolve hardening. They decide to reach out to Jamal's family, to help him navigate the scholarship process and maybe even mentor him along the way. Back at home, Jamal sits at the kitchen table, the note spread out in front of him. His little sister, Maya, peeks over his shoulder, her eyes wide. "You're famous now," she says, half teasing, half awed. Jamal laughs, the first real laugh he's had all day. "I don't want to be famous," he says. "I just want to go to college." Lisa, stirring a pot of soup on the stove, smiles but doesn't turn around. She's proud, but she's also scared of what could have happened, scared of what still might. She's already planning to meet with Agent Carter, to share everything she knows about Hargrove and others like him. She's tired of seeing her community targeted, tired of living in fear for her kids. "You're gonna do more than go to college," she says, her voice firm. "You're gonna change things, Jamal. I can feel it." The next morning, the stories everywhere on morning news shows, social media, even international outlets. Tasha's video has millions of views, and she's being interviewed left and right, using her platform to demand accountability and reform. She's not just an activist now, she's a voice for a movement, one sparked by a kid's simple act of kindness. Jamal's school is buzzing, his classmates treating him like a hero, though he's quick to shrug it off. "I just gave up my seat," he says, but his friends won't let him downplay it. His teachers, inspired by the story, start talking about starting a mentorship program, connecting students with opportunities like the one Emily offered. The ripple effect is real. Jamal's moment on that bus is changing more than just his life. A week later, Jamal meets with Emily at her school, where she walks him through the scholarship application. It's not just a form, it's a lifeline to a future he's always wanted but never thought he could have. Marcus is there too, sharing stories of his own journey, giving Jamal advice on navigating a world that doesn't always play fair. "You've got people in your corner now," Marcus tells him. "Don't be afraid to lean on us." Jamal nods, feeling a mix of gratitude and determination. He's already thinking about what he wants to study, maybe engineering, maybe law, something that lets him build a better world. Lisa watches from the sidelines, her heart full but her mind still on the fight ahead. She's been in touch with Agent Carter, who's building a case against Hargrove and others in the department. It's slow, but it's progress, and Lisa's not backing down. Hargrove, meanwhile, is suspended pending investigation, his badge on the line. Sarah's grappling with her role in it all, questioning how she missed the signs, how she let her partner's biases slide for so long. She meets with Torres, offering to help with the internal review, determined to make things right. The community's watching, holding their breath, knowing this moment could be a turning point or just another false start. Tasha keeps the pressure on, organizing rallies, sharing updates on the investigation, keeping Jamal's story alive. The note, now framed on Jamal's bedroom wall, is a reminder of how a small act of kindness can spark a movement, how one moment can change everything. As the story closes, Jamal's walking to the bus stop, his backpack slung over his shoulder, his earbuds in. The city feels different now, not perfect, but hopeful. He's got a scholarship to chase, a family that's got his back, and a community that's fighting for him. The world's still watching, inspired by a kid who gave up his seat and stood his ground. The key takeaway? Kindness matters, but so does standing up to injustice. Jamal's story isn't just his, it's a call to action, a reminder that change starts with one person, one moment, one note. And as he steps onto the bus, the same one where it all began, he smiles, knowing he's not just a passenger anymore. He's a spark, and the fire's still burning.